Hi there, I'm Tanya from Lovely Greens, and I have a really fun beekeeping project to share with you today. And you don't even have to be a beekeeper to do it. What we're going to do is make infused honey. And infused honey is basically raw honey that has been infused with another flavor. So it could be dried chilies, it could be, in this case, vanilla and cinnamon. It could be edible flowers like lavender. Super easy to do. And it also makes really great gifts. So think about this for Christmas gifts or birthday gifts or just gifts throughout the year as well. So let's learn how to make some infused honey. You only need a few ingredients to make infused honey, and it is super, super simple. What we're going to begin with is, obviously, we're going to have honey. So you can use honey from your own bees, you can use honey from your local beekeeper, you can use honey from the supermarket. Any honey is fine, although the lighter in color and flavor is probably better. You will also need various herbs and spices. Now, it's highly recommended that you use dried herbs and flowers just to make sure that the water content that gets into the honey is very, very minimal, if anything. And that has more to do with the fear of botulism than bacteria. Now, I am using fresh lavender and fresh rosemary as well, but I'll be leaving it in only a little bit, and this is for personal use only. If you're going to be making any of this for gifts, make sure that it's dried. So really safe bets are using dried vanilla and spices like cinnamon, cloves, and those are fantastic flavors for Christmas as well. So we've got all three here. So we've got herbs, edible flowers, and also the spices. And all we're going to do is put them into jars and then fill them up with honey. So we're just gonna get to that right now. So jars, you can use any jars, make sure that they're sterilized. I'm using just ordinary Kilner or mason jars, but you could reuse the jar that the honey comes in as well. Right, so let's start by making the lavender honey. So I have lavender that I've cut from the garden. It's perfectly dry, and you don't want wet anything going into your honey. So what I'm going to do is just pop them inside. And then I'm just going to trim off the stems at the very top and hanging on to them a little bit. You can use lavender buds as well, so the store-bought lavender. That's actually probably the safest bet because it's already dried, it's aromatic, but you can use dried lavender from your own garden as well. That makes it a little bit more of a special touch as well. So, super easy. Now that the lavender is in the jar, we're just going to fill it up with honey. And I have a metal funnel, and I'm going to use a ladle and just ladle this straight out of this big jug. This is a lot of honey. I'll be taking some more honey off of my bees, probably next month. Let's bring this up a little bit closer. It's a rich golden honey. Whoop. Wow. So delish. My bees are doing great, by the way. I went out and visited them on Friday, and I'd been away for a month, traveling through Portugal, and I'd been out to see them since, but this time I really wanted to have a really in-depth look at how they were all doing, and they're all producing brood, so that's baby bees, and they had plenty of space to build on, plenty of food in stores though as well. They had plenty of honey in there. And I also got stung. I really, my hand, I can't tell if you can see it in the video or not, but it's quite swollen right now. Not as bad as it was on Friday though. I'm not allergic to bee stings, but it was a localized reaction, so it really puffed up and looked terrible. Right, so we've got the honey filled up, so leaving a little bit of space. pop this back on for now. Honey is very messy and sticky, so if you keep a cloth on hand to just wipe your hands off on, that's a good idea. Right, so it's totally filled up. You can see the lavender through the glass, which is really attractive, really pretty. And all you have to do now is put a lid on it and let it infuse for at least a week or two. So these are Tatler lids that I'm using, so they're BPA free. You can use them or you can use the ordinary jars. Just fit it on top, put the screw on top. And you're going to want to keep this in maybe a warm windowsill that will help it to infuse over the next week or two. And after then, you need to probably just taste it to see how strong the scent is coming through, and then strain the honey from the herbs or the flowers, etc. If you're giving these as gifts and you want them to be able to see the lavender or rose petals or the rosemary through the glass, then gift the jars to them after you've infused it for about a week with the instructions to taste and to strain it themselves when they feel that it's strong enough for them. So into my window this is going to go. And it's pretty much the same. It is the exact same process for filling up jars of honey for the other herbs. So I've got some rosemary here, and I said earlier you should use dried herbs. I'm using herbs that are fresh, but these are ones that also have quite low water content in general. So I feel like it's quite safe. So we are going to pop those in. Looks pretty even as it is. And then we're just going to do the exact same thing. Fill it up with honey. Honey actually, depending on what flowers or trees that the bees are foraging off of, it will have a different color and also taste. This is a summer honey, so it's made out of wildflowers mainly, and also my bees are really close to my allotment garden, so I like to think that there's nectar and pollen in the honey from some of my own plants. This rosemary honey, I really foresee using this with savory dishes, although I do have a great recipe for lemon and rosemary cupcakes. So this might actually be a great topping for that. Could you imagine lemon and rosemary cupcakes with rosemary honey on top? I think I might have to try that. If you get a little bit of honey that dribbles around the side of the jar, just wipe it clean so that it doesn't leave any kind of dark residue or stickiness. We do gift this. So this one I'm just using an ordinary Kilner lid, which I'll pop on top with a screw top. Doesn't that look just absolutely stunning? Wouldn't you like to have that as a gift? So now for the final version, we're going to use the dried cinnamon stick, some cloves, and also a full vanilla bean. So there's just a little bit of extra work for this. So the vanilla bean, we're just going to have to cut it open and scrape the inside out and into the jar. With this one, because you're scraping the inside out, that will stay in the honey. It won't be strained out later on. But you can take the cloves and the cinnamon out and the rest of the bean as well, just to reduce the flavor of the stronger spices. All right, so I've sliced open the vanilla pod. Vanilla is actually an orchid, if you didn't know that already. And we're just going to scrape the inside out. I'm just going to use the back of the knife, scrape along. And I've got the inside of the vanilla bean on the knife. So just here, and all I'm going to do is scrape it inside this jar. So it's hanging out there at the bottom of the jar. Go ahead and pop the vanilla bean inside the jar as well, along with the cinnamon stick and the 2 cloves. And we're just going to fill it up again. And I'm leaving just a little bit of space at the neck. So probably about a 1/4 inch. Screw lid on, and into the window this one goes as well. The reason we're putting the honey into the window is that that extra warmth from the sun will help the different herbs and spices to infuse into the honey, but it needs a little bit of help as well. And so once a day or every couple days, if you can remember, just take your jar and give it a gentle shake back and forth, and then put it back into the window. Another thing that you can do to beautify the jars to give them as gifts is to decorate them with just a capping of paper and some string. So let's pretend that these are, I don't know, about a week old. It's right before Christmas or another event, birthday, anniversary. So we'll leave the spices and the herbs inside with the instructions again to strain them out when the flavor gets to their liking. But we'll just decorate the top, so cover up that ring and the lid with just a circle of paper. And I've just cut these out. They're 5.5 inches in diameter. And I just cut them out by hand. And we're just going to fit them on top of the jar. And then I've just got some baker's twine, so red and white, which I quite like. If you'd like to, you can also attach a little card or a little tag to the ribbon as well. It could be the instructions on infusing, or it could have a personal message saying these are from my bees or these flowers are from my garden. But just something that will make your homemade gift even more special. So that's pretty much it. Simple, wasn't it? And once the honey is in the jars, it has a shelf life of pretty much forever. Honey lasts ages. If it does crystallize, it's all right. It can go back to a liquid form if you just warm up the honey slightly. So if you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. I release videos every week, and I focus on organic gardening, beekeeping, and DIY projects. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.